The greatest love stories are not written by those who fall easily, but by those who have learned to fall despite their fear of falling. Right now, someone you know is loving you in a way you cannot recognize. They are not sending you 20 texts a day. They are not posting about you on every platform. They are not drowning you in flowery words or grand romantic gestures. Instead, they are doing something far more precious. They are quietly, consistently, and deliberately choosing you every single day while fighting their deepest instinct to run. This is the love of the avoidant heart. You see, we have been taught that love should look a certain way. We expect constant reassurance, frequent emotional displays, and immediate responses to our needs. When someone does not love us in this familiar pattern, we assume they do not love us at all. This assumption has destroyed more genuine connections than any betrayal or incompatibility ever could. But what if I told you that the person who seems most distant from you might actually be fighting the hardest battle to stay close? What if their silence is not indifference, but the sound of someone wrestling with their own heart? What if their need for space is not rejection, but their way of ensuring they can love you without losing themselves? 3 years ago, I met a woman who had been married for 15 years to a man she called emotionally unavailable. She came to me frustrated, feeling unloved and unseen. He never tells me he loves me, she said. He never writes me notes or surprises me with flowers. I don't think he even notices when I'm upset. I asked her a simple question. When you were sick last month, what did he do? Her face changed. He took 3 days off work to take care of me. He made me soup every morning and evening. He slept on the couch so I could rest better. He handled everything, the kids, the house, the groceries, without me asking for any of it. And when your mother was in the hospital, he drove 4 hours each way, twice a week, for 6 weeks. He never complained. He just said, "Your mother needs us," and made it happen. What about when you wanted to go back to school? She paused longer this time. He rearranged his entire schedule to support my classes. He researched programs for me. He even helped me study for exams, even though he was exhausted from work. This woman had been living with one of the most devoted, loving partners anyone could ask for. But because his love did not match her expectations of how love should appear, she had been unable to see it. Her husband was not emotionally unavailable. He was emotionally protective. He was not uncaring. He was caring in the most practical, sustainable way he knew how. Here is the truth about avoidant hearts. They have learned that love can hurt. Somewhere in their past, often very early, they learned that opening completely to someone could result in pain, abandonment, or the loss of their sense of self. So they developed what I call sacred boundaries. Not walls to keep love out, but containers to keep love safe. Think of a gardener who has learned to tend the most delicate flowers. They do not handle them roughly or expose them to harsh elements all at once. They create the perfect conditions, provide consistent care, and protect their growth with patient wisdom. This is how the avoidant heart approaches love, not with less intensity, but with more careful intention. The avoidant person did not become this way because they are broken or defective. They became this way because they are wise. They learned early that emotional survival sometimes requires careful management of their inner world. They learned that love without boundaries can become consuming, that relationships without space can become suffocating, and that giving everything immediately can leave nothing for the long journey ahead. But our society has taught us to mistake their wisdom for coldness, their boundaries for rejection, their careful approach for lack of caring. We have been conditioned to believe that immediate emotional availability equals genuine love, when often the opposite is true. The person who can regulate their emotions, maintain their sense of self, and love you consistently over years, rather than intensely for weeks, this person is offering you something rare and precious. When an avoidant person chooses to be with you, they are not making a casual decision. They have considered this choice from every angle. They have weighed the risks and decided you are worth facing their deepest fears. They have determined that you are someone they can trust with their carefully guarded heart. This is not a decision they make lightly or frequent. Their love language is not words or grand gestures. It is time, consistency, and shared space. When an avoidant person gives you their time, they are giving you their most precious resource. When they allow you into their physical space, they are inviting you into their sanctuary. When they share their daily routine with you, they are offering you a place in their carefully ordered world. Watch how they love, not just listen to what they say. An avoidant partner will show up for you in practical ways. They will remember what matters to you and quietly make sure those things are taken care of. They will give you space when you need it and be present when you ask for their attention. They will defend you to others even when you are not there to hear it. They will make decisions that consider your well-being, often without telling you they are doing so. They will also introduce you to their inner circle, but only after they are certain you belong there. They will make future plans that include you, but they will not make these plans impulsive. They will share their vulnerabilities with you, but in small, meaningful doses rather than overwhelming confessions. They will seek your comfort during difficult times, but they will not become dependent on your emotional support. These expressions of love require a different kind of recognition. They require you to pay attention to actions over words, consistency over intensity, and quality over quantity. They require you to understand that someone can love you completely while still maintaining their sense of self. The tragedy is that most people miss these signals entirely. They are so busy waiting for the avoidant person to love them in familiar ways that they fail to notice how they are already being loved. They interpret space as rejection, emotional regulation as coldness, and careful consideration as indifference. They demand more emotional expression, more frequent contact, more verbal reassurance, all of which pushes the avoidant person further away. But what if you could learn to see love in its authentic form? What if you could recognize devotion in someone who shows up consistently rather than dramatically? What if you could appreciate someone who loves you enough to maintain their emotional balance rather than losing themselves in the relationship? The avoidant heart is not a damaged heart. It is a careful heart. It is not close to love. It is protective of love. It does not love less. It loves differently. And when you learn to recognize and honor this difference, you access a kind of love that is steady, reliable, and enduring in ways that passionate but unstable connections never can be. This person is not trying to hurt you with their emotional patterns. They are trying to love you in the only way they know how to love sustainably. They are not withholding affection to punish you. They are managing their emotional resources so they can be present for you over the long term. They are not avoiding intimacy. They are approaching intimacy at a pace that allows them to remain authentic rather than performing a version of love that feels false to them. Their internal world is rich and complex, filled with thoughts and feelings they process privately before sharing. They do not wear their emotions on their sleeve because they have learned that emotional regulation is a gift they give to their relationship. They do not need constant validation because they have developed internal sources of security. They do not create drama because they value peace and stability above the temporary excitement of emotional turbulence. When an avoidant person is comfortable with you, truly comfortable, you will see a different side of them. They will share their thoughts without being asked. They will seek your opinion on important decisions. They will include you in their private rituals and personal spaces. They will show you their playful side, their silly side, their vulnerable side, but only when they feel completely safe with you. Building this safety takes time. It cannot be rushed or demanded. It grows through consistent, respectful interactions where their boundaries are honored and their way of loving is appreciated rather than criticized. It develops when they see that you will not try to change them or make them into someone they are not. Most importantly, it flourishes when they realize that you love them not despite their avoidant tendencies, but including them. When they understand that you see their careful approach to love as wisdom rather than dysfunction, when they feel that their way of caring is valued rather than corrected, when they know that they can be themselves without losing your respect or affection. This is when the true magic happens. This is when the avoidant heart reveals its full capacity for love, not the desperate, clinging love of insecurity, but the chosen, intentional love of someone who has learned to love wisely. This is when you realize that waiting for this love, learning to recognize this love, and honoring this love has given you access to something most people never experience. A love that is both free and committed, both independent and devoted, both careful and complete. But understanding the avoidant heart is only the beginning. Once you recognize how they love, you must learn to work with their natural patterns rather than against them. You must understand the cycles they go through, the triggers that activate their defenses, and the conditions that help them feel safe to love more openly. You must learn to distinguish between their protective behaviors and genuine incompatibility, between their need for space and lack interest, between their emotional regulation and emotional unavailability. These distinctions become clear once you understand that avoidant love follows predictable patterns. Patterns that, when recognized, give you tremendous power in your relationship. Have you ever noticed how your avoidant partner seems to get closer to you, then suddenly pull back, only to move closer again weeks later? Have you wondered why they can be incredibly loving and present one day, then seem distant and unavailable the next? This is not random behavior. This is not evidence that they do not care. This is the natural rhythm of how avoidant hearts manage intimacy. Think of it like the ocean's tide. The water does not pull back because it rejects the shore. It pulls back because this is how oceans maintain their power and continue their eternal dance with the land. The tide always returns, often bringing gifts from the vast depths that would never reach the surface any other way. The avoidant heart operates on this same principle, advancing toward intimacy, then retreating to process and integrate, then advancing again with greater depth and authenticity. Most people make a critical error during the retreat phase. They panic. They demand explanations or reassurances. They interpret the natural pullback as rejection or loss of interest. This reaction actually extends the retreat phase and can trigger a more dramatic withdrawal. It is like standing at the ocean's edge and becoming angry that the tide has gone out, then running after the water demanding it return immediately. But when you understand this pattern, you respond differently. When your avoidant partner begins to pull back, you give them space, grace. You maintain your own emotional center. You continue your own life with confidence and purpose. You trust that this retreat is temporary and necessary, not personal and permanent. And consistently, you will find that they return more quickly and with greater warmth when their natural cycle is respected rather than resisted. The retreat phase serves several important functions for the avoidant person. It allows them to process their emotions privately, which they need to do before they can share authentically. It helps them maintain their sense of individual identity, which they require to feel safe in the relation. It gives them space to miss you and remember why they chose you, which strengthens their commitment rather than weakening it. During these retreat phases, they are not rejecting you. They are integrating you. They are making sure their feelings for you are genuine and sustainable. They are checking in with themselves to ensure they can continue loving you without losing who they are. This process cannot be rushed or bypassed. It can only be honored and trusted. The advanced phase is when they move toward greater intimacy and connection. During these times, they share more of themselves, initiate more contact, and express their feelings more openly. These phases feel wonderful, but many people make the mistake of trying to lock in this level of intimacy permanently. They want to capture this closeness and prevent any future retreats. This approach guarantees that the next retreat will be longer and more dramatic. Instead, when your avoidant partner is in an advanced phase, receive their love gratefully but without clinging. Appreciate their vulnerability without demanding more. Enjoy their increased presence without trying to control it. Show them that you can handle both their closeness and their distance, their advance and their retreat, their emotional availability and their need for processing time. Over time, as trust builds and safety increases, these cycles become less dramatic. The retreats become shorter and less frequent. The advances become more natural and sustained. But this evolution happens gradually through consistent respect for their pattern rather than attempts to change it. Now, the question you might be asking is, how do I know if this is healthy avoidant behavior or if there is actually a problem in the relationship? The answer lies in understanding the difference between pattern and pathology, between natural rhythm and genuine disconnection. Healthy avoidant patterns have consistency over time. The person retreats and returns in predictable ways. They maintain basic respect and consideration even during retreat phases. They do not use their need for space as a weapon or punishment. They do not retreat after every moment of intimacy or connection. They show progression over months and years, becoming more secure and open as trust develops. Unhealthy patterns, on the other hand, become increasingly extreme over time. The retreats become longer and more punishing. The person uses their avoidant behavior to manipulate or control. They never show any progression toward greater security. They retreat after any genuine intimacy, making real connection impossible. They show no consideration for your needs or feelings during their withdrawal periods. Learning to recognize this difference protects you from staying in genuinely problematic relationships, while also preventing you from sabotaging healthy ones. It helps you respond appropriately to natural avoidant rhythms while still maintaining your own boundaries and standards. But here is what most people do not realize. Both partners in an avoidant relationship often engage in self-sabotaging behaviors that make the natural patterns more difficult than they need to be. The avoidant partner may retreat more dramatically than necessary because they fear being trapped or controlled. The non-avoidant partner may chase more desperately than natural because they fear being abandoned or rejected. These reactive behaviors create negative cycles that can destroy otherwise healthy relationships. The avoidant person retreats, triggering the partner's abandonment fears. The partner then pursues more intensely, triggering the avoidant person's engulfment fear. The avoidant person retreats further, and the cycle escalates until the relationship becomes unsustainable. Breaking this cycle requires both partners to take responsibility for their own reactions and response. The avoidant person must learn to communicate their needs for space before they reach their breaking point. They must find ways to retreat that do not trigger their partner's insecurities. They must provide reassurance about their commitment even while maintaining their boundaries. The non-avoidant partner must learn to self-soothe during retreat phases rather than pursuing for reassurance. They must develop their own sources of security rather than depending entirely on their partner's availability. They must learn to interpret space as self-care rather than rejection, and absence as processing rather than abandonment. This transformation requires what I call a growth mindset in love. Instead of trying to eliminate all challenges and discomfort from the relationship, both partners learn to see difficulties as opportunities for deeper understanding and stronger connection. Instead of viewing their differences as problems to be solved, they begin to see them as complementary strengths that can enhance both of their lives. The growth mindset recognizes that healthy relationships are not about finding someone who meets all your needs effortlessly. They are about finding someone worthy of the effort required to build something meaningful together. They understand that love is not just a feeling that happens to you, but a skill that you develop through practice and commitment. In avoidant relationships, this mindset is particularly crucial because the rewards often come after periods of patience and understanding rather than immediately. The non-avoidant partner must learn to plant seeds of trust and understanding without expecting immediate harvest. They must tend the soil of the relationship with consistent care, knowing that the fruits of their labor may not be visible for weeks or months. Think of a farmer who plants fruit trees. The first year, there is only growth of roots and branches, no fruit. The second year, there may be a few small fruits, but nothing like the full harvest. The third year brings a more substantial crop, and by the fourth or fifth year, the tree produces abundantly, year after year, with minimal effort required. Many people approach avoidant relationships like they are planting vegetables, expecting quick results and immediate gratification. When they do not see rapid changes in their partner's emotional availability or expression patterns, they assume the relationship is not working and abandon it. But avoidant relationships are more like fruit trees. The investment of time and understanding in the early years pays dividends for decades once the foundation of trust and security is established. This does not mean you should accept poor treatment or indefinite emotional unavailability. It means you should evaluate progress over months and years rather than days and weeks. It means you should look for small, consistent changes rather than dramatic transformations. It means you should invest in building safety and understanding rather than demanding immediate results. The daily habits that support this growth are surprisingly simple but require consistency to be effective. Each morning, set an intention to respond to your partner from understanding rather than reactivity. When they need space, give it gracefully. When they offer connection, receive it gratefully. When they express themselves in their natural way, appreciate it rather than trying to change it. Practice communicating your own needs clearly and directly without emotional pressure or manipulation. Ask for what you want while accepting that the timing of receiving it may not match your preferences. Express appreciation for the ways they do show love rather than focusing on the ways they do not. Maintain your own emotional regulation and sense of self rather than depending on their availability to feel secure. Build a fulfilling life that includes but does not revolve around your relationship. Develop friendships, interests, and goals that give you joy and purpose, independent of your partner's attention or approval. Most importantly, learn to see challenges in your relationship as opportunities for both of you to grow and heal rather than as evidence that the relationship is failing. When your avoidant partner triggers your insecurities, use it as information about areas where you can develop greater internal security. When your reactions trigger their defensive responses, use it as feedback about how to communicate more effectively. Every difficulty that arises contains within it the seeds of a stronger connection if you approach it with curiosity rather than judgment, with patience rather than demand, with understanding. The couple who learns to navigate avoidant patterns successfully often develops a level of emotional maturity and relationship skills that serves them well in every area of life. They learn to love without losing themselves. They learn to commit without controlling. They learn to be intimate without being intrusive. They learn to support without rescuing. They learn to be present without being demanding. These are advanced relationship skills that benefit both partners far beyond their romantic connection. The avoidant partner learns that they can maintain their autonomy while also being truly intimate. They learn that healthy boundaries actually enhance love rather than limiting it. They discover that they can be vulnerable without being consumed, committed without being trapped, loving without losing their sense of self. The non-avoidant partner learns that security comes from within rather than from external reassurance. They learn that love can be trusted even when it does not look familiar. They develop patience, wisdom, and the ability to see beyond surface behaviors to deeper truth about their partner's heart and intention. Together, they create a relationship that honors both independence and connection, both individual growth and shared commitment, both personal space and intimate bonding. They learn that the strongest relationships are not those without challenges, but those where both people are committed to working through challenges together with respect, understanding, and love. This transformation does not happen over. It requires ongoing commitment to personal growth, consistent practice of new patterns, and unwavering belief that both people are capable of healing and change. But for those willing to do the work, the rewards are extraordinary. A love that is both passionate and peaceful, both exciting and secure, both independent and devoted. The question now becomes, what specific practices and disciplines can you implement immediately to support this transformation? What daily actions will create the conditions for avoidant love to flourish rather than struggle? How can you begin today to build the kind of relationship that honors both your needs and your partner's natural way of loving? The answers to these questions lie not in grand gestures or perfect understanding, but in the small, consistent actions you choose to take every single day. Excellence in loving an avoidant heart is built the same way a master craftsman builds a cathedral, one carefully placed stone at a time, with patience, precision, and unwavering commitment to the vision of what is being created. You cannot rush the process, but you can trust it. You cannot control the outcome, but you can influence it through your daily choices. Your first discipline begins the moment you wake up each morning. Before you check your phone, before you review your schedule, before you think about what you need from your partner today, set a single intention. Today I will love from understanding rather than expectation. This is not positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is a conscious choice to approach your relationship from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. Most people wake up with an unconscious agenda for their partner. They want more attention, more affection, more communication, more reassurance. They carry this agenda into every interaction, measuring their partner's responses against their internal checklist of needs and wants. This creates an atmosphere of evaluation rather than acceptance, of demand rather than appreciation. But when you begin each day with the intention to understand rather than expect, you create space for your partner to be authentic. You become curious about their inner world rather than judgmental about their outer expression. You look for the love they are giving rather than focusing on the love you are not receiving. Here is what this looks like in practical terms. When your avoidant partner is quiet during breakfast, instead of interpreting this as rejection or moodiness, you recognize it as their natural way of processing the day ahead. When they do not respond to your text message immediately, instead of creating stories about their lack of care, you remember that they process communications thoughtfully rather than impulsive. When they choose to spend Saturday afternoon working on their personal projects rather than focusing entirely on couple activities. Instead of feeling neglected, you appreciate that they are maintaining the individual interests and energy that make them interesting and attractive to you. When they express affection through actions rather than words, instead of wishing they were more verbally expressive, you learn to recognize and value their authentic love language. This shift in perspective requires daily practice because your old patterns of interpretation run automatically. Your brain has been trained to scan for problems, to notice what is missing, to evaluate whether you are getting enough attention and affection. Retraining your mental habits to scan for connection, to notice what is present, to appreciate the unique ways you are being loved. This requires conscious, consistent effort. The second discipline is learning to give space before it is requested. Most people wait until their avoidant partner explicitly asks for alone time. by which point the partner may already be feeling overwhelmed or pressured. But when you become skilled at reading their natural rhythms, you can offer space gracefully before it becomes a point of tension. This might mean suggesting they take some time for their hobbies when you notice they seem mentally preoccupied. It might mean choosing to visit friends or pursue your own interests when you sense they need to recharge their emotional energy. It might mean ending conversations before they feel obligated to say more than they are ready to share. The key is that this space is offered as a gift, not a withdrawal. You are not pulling away because you are hurt or angry. You are creating room for them to breathe because you understand that this breathing room actually enhances their ability to connect with you later. When you master this discipline, something beautiful happens. Your avoidant partner begins to associate you with freedom rather than pressure, with support rather than demand, with understanding rather than judgment. They start to see your presence as a source of peace rather than stress. This association is the foundation upon which deeper intimacy is built. The third discipline is practicing appreciation for effort rather than perfection. Avoidant individuals often struggle with perfectionism in relationship because they fear that any imperfect expression of love will be criticized or rejected. They may hold back from sharing their feelings because they cannot find the perfect words. They may hesitate to initiate physical affection because they are not sure they are doing it right. When you consistently acknowledge and appreciate their efforts to connect, regardless of how perfectly those efforts match your preferences, you create safety for them to be more expressive. When they share something personal, thank them for trusting you rather than pushing for more detail. When they initiate a hug or kiss, receive it warmly rather than using it as an opportunity to request more physical affection. When they remember something important to you, express genuine gratitude rather than treating it as the minimum expectation. When they make an effort to communicate about their feelings, appreciate their courage rather than critiquing their communication style. When they choose to spend time with you rather than pursuing solitary activities, acknowledge this choice as the gift it is. This discipline teaches them that their authentic expressions of love are valued and welcomed. Over time, they will offer these expressions more freely because they know they will be received with appreciation rather than judgment or demands for more. The fourth discipline is maintaining your own emotional center regardless of their availability or mood. This does not mean becoming cold or disconnected. It means developing internal sources of security, joy, and purpose that do not depend entirely on your partner's attention or affection. When they are in a retreat phase, you continue living your life with enthusiasm and purpose. You spend time with friends, pursue your interests, take care of your physical and emotional health, and find sources of fulfillment that exist independent of your relationship. You do not put your life on hold, waiting for them to return to full availability. When they are struggling with their own internal challenges, you offer support without taking responsibility for their emotional state. You listen without trying to fit. You provide comfort without becoming consumed by their difficulties. You maintain your own stability while still being present for them. This discipline is perhaps the most challenging because it requires you to love without attachment to outcome, to care without controlling, to be supportive without being codependent. But it is also the most powerful because it shows your avoidant partner that you are a stable, secure presence in their life rather than someone whose well-being depends on their constant management. The fifth discipline is communicating your needs clearly and directly without emotional manipulation or pressure. Avoidant individuals often have difficulty responding to indirect communication or emotional appeals because these approaches can feel manipulative or overwhelming to them. They respond better to straightforward, specific requests that respect their autonomy to choose their response. Instead of saying, "You never tell me you love me," try, "I would appreciate hearing your feelings for me expressed in words." Instead of, "You always pull away when we get close," try, "I notice you need space after intimate moments, and I want to understand how to support that while still feeling connected to you." Instead of creating emotional drama to get their attention, simply state what you would like and ask if they are willing and able to provide it. Instead of using tears or anger to pressure them into immediate compliance, give them time to consider your request and respond authentically. This approach honors their need to process information internally before responding, while also ensuring that your legitimate needs are clearly communicated rather than left to guesswork. The sixth discipline is celebrating small progress consistently rather than waiting for major changes to acknowledge growth. Avoidant individuals often make gradual shifts toward greater openness and availability, but these changes can be so subtle that they go unnoticed if you are looking for dramatic transformations. When they share feeling, they normally keep private. Acknowledge this sharing. When they reach for your hand, you're in a movie, appreciate this gesture. When they ask about your day with genuine interest, recognize this as an expression of care. When they choose to include you in a decision they normally make independently, celebrate this trust. These small movements toward greater intimacy and connection are actually profound shifts for someone with avoidant patterns. By noticing and appreciating them, you encourage more of the same behavior. By overlooking them while waiting for bigger changes, you may inadvertently discourage the very progress you are hoping to see. The seventh discipline is creating predictable safety in your relationship through consistent responses and reliable behavior. Avoidant individuals have learned to be cautious about emotional vulnerability because they have experienced unpredictable reactions to their openness in the past. They need to know that your responses to their authentic expressions will be consistent and safe. This means you do not punish them for sharing difficult feelings by becoming defensive or critical. You do not use their vulnerabilities against them during arguments. You do not withdraw your affection when they disappoint you or make mistakes. You do not threaten leave the relationship whenever you face challenges together. Instead, you become someone they can count on to respond with maturity, wisdom, and love even when they are not at their best. You become a safe harbor where they can process their emotions, work through their challenges, and heal their wounds without fear of judgment or abandonment. When they know they can trust your responses, they begin to share more of themselves naturally. When they feel secure in your commitment, they can risk greater intimacy without fear that opening their heart will result in pain or rejection. The eighth and final discipline is practicing gratitude for the unique gifts that avoidant love brings to your life. This is not about settling for less than you deserve or convincing yourself to be happy with inadequate treatment. This is about recognizing the genuine benefits of being loved by someone who loves thoughtfully, consistently, and sustainably. Their emotional stability can teach you emotional regulation. Their independence can inspire you to develop your own individual interests and identity. Their careful approach to commitment means that when they choose you, this choice is deeply considered and meaningful. Their ability to love without losing themselves shows you what healthy boundaries look like in practice. Their consistency over time provides a kind of security that passionate but unstable relationships cannot offer. Their practical expressions of care often meet your real needs more effectively than romantic gestures that feel good in the moment but do not translate into lasting support. Their respect for your autonomy allows you to maintain your own identity and growth within the relationship. Their mature approach to conflict resolution creates a peaceful home environment where both of you can thrive. When you truly appreciate these gifts, you stop trying to change your avoidant partner into someone else and start supporting them in becoming the best version of who they already are. You stop seeing their traits as problems to be solved and start seeing them as strengths to be celebrated. This shift in perspective transforms not only your relationship, but your entire approach to love and human connection. You learn to see beyond surface behaviors to deeper truths about people's hearts and intentions. You develop patience, wisdom, and the ability to love people as they are rather than as you wish they were. Most importantly, you learn that extraordinary love is not about finding someone who meets all your needs effortlessly. It is about becoming someone capable of loving wisely, consistently, and authentically, regardless of whether that love is returned in the exact form you expect. The person who masters these 8 disciplines does not just improve their relationship with an avoidant partner, they become skilled at loving all kinds of people with greater wisdom and effectiveness. They develop emotional maturity that serves them in every relationship and every area of. They learn that love is not something that happens to them, but something they choose to do. They learn that happiness in relationships comes not from getting what they want, but from appreciating what they have. They learn that the strongest connections are built through understanding and acceptance rather than pressure and demands. So I ask you now, which of these disciplines will you begin practicing today? Which old patterns will you choose to change? And which new habits will you commit to develop? What kind of person will you become in the process of learning to love an avoidant heart? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your avoidant partner is waiting for someone who can see their love for what it truly is. Not a damaged version of normal love, but a unique and precious gift that deserves to be recognized, appreciated, and cherished. That someone can be you. That love story can be yours, but only if you choose to write it with the wisdom, patience, and daily disciplines that extraordinary love requires. The greatest love stories are indeed not written by those who fall easily, but by those who learn to fall despite their fears, and by those who learn to catch them with understanding, appreciation, and unwavering commitment to honoring the beautiful complexity of how different hearts learn to love. Your story begins with your next choice. Make it count.